Well, the Philadelphia Eagles have passed a lot of big tests in the 2024 season. They've got one that got even bigger this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A first look at the matchup coming up right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Louis DiBiase, joined as always by Gino Camilleri. We are brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. You'll get started. Eagles Steelers this Sunday, America's game of the week at 4:25. The 11-2 Birds hosting the 10-3 Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is, not your past few years Pittsburgh Steelers team, right? I mean, they've been a 9-8 playoff team that has an elite defense, but Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, you're not really scared of that offense. They're kind of a fraud team that makes the postseason every year, but this time it's different, and it was already a big test coming in against a really good roster, and with all this drama this week, I really hope they channel this energy and turn it into something good Sunday. It'll be really interesting to see, okay, how far removed from last year are you truly? Here's your another test of that, and they've passed with flying colors this year, but I think all of that stuff kind of made this game an even bigger watch for sure.
The thing about Nick Sirianni is that out of anyone in the last couple days, I think he has done the best job of getting this team to really hone in.
And that's what he does best, so that's good to know. Yeah.
The message that he has sent to this team is clear, is that we have to lock in. We have a purpose that is bigger than all of us. And in his press conference today, all he kept harping on was the idea of being together. And if they realize that last year, that was the exact reason why the downfall happened.
Exactly.
Because they are in each corner. The meme from The Office when everybody's got the finger guns out, that was 2023.
Literally.
Why did the collapse happen? Because the togetherness was not there. Nick Sirianni, what his job is happening right now. And to be honest, dude, out of everything I've said on this show, I feel really bad about going off about Nick Sirianni because this team is just so good 4 years in a row and they're 9 games in a row winning, and they have a chance to lock in against one of the best teams and in one of the biggest adversity-ridden portions of the season. He has responded better than everybody, and I think everybody has to realize coach he's not playing around anymore, and we have to lock in. Because if you're going to do what you did against Carolina, Lou, and that was probably go through the motions a little bit, Pittsburgh is going to put you on the mat. And they're not a team that's going to let you get off the mat. They're a shark that smells blood in the water with that defense that they have. Like you said, that offense with Russell Wilson, to a degree, Russ is doing enough to just win football games for them.
Yeah.
Taking care of the football, doing some things in the passing games that Justin Fields frankly couldn't do.
Or any of the quarterbacks from the past few years.
Without a doubt. But talking about the passing game, Lou, I think this is whoever can run the ball and eclipse 125 yards in a smash mouth, just like 2 weeks ago against Baltimore, AFC North, NFC East. Eagles can run the ball. Pittsburgh can run the ball. Pittsburgh's top receiver in George Pickens is not going to be playing.
Big.
I don't see the Eagles all of a sudden going from the 31st ranked passing offense to all of a sudden having 35 to 40 tries for Jalen Hurts. This is going to be a Saquon Barkley game. Establish the line of scrimmage. Keep it short. Pittsburgh's going to be a tough defense to move the ball on. But if you do it now, Lou, how good would that feel against that front who has Pro Bowler, potential
Their linebackers,
Hall
too.
of
They have
Famer.
3
Their
stud linebackers.
Are great, man. Like Minkah Fitzpatrick in the secondary. How good would that feel to set the rhythm, do what you've done over these 9 games, Saquon eclipses 100 yards, and you walk out of this week and say, yeah, that was funny. Remember all that stuff that just happened? We won this game and claimed that Wawa's better than Sheets.
Yeah, no, I think when you look at it, yes, on paper, the Steelers have And not on paper. I mean, just result-wise, they're a top 5 rushing defense in the league. They have an incredible defensive line. I mean, Patrick Queen. They've got, Peyton Wilson. They've got a really good secondary. They're completely loaded. But I wouldn't, even with the real focus on trying to correct the passing game, and I'm sure, especially early on in this game, there's going to be an emphasis on getting the ball to number 11. I think being aggressive. Like, the Steelers are, honestly, when you look at the stats, they're a middle-of-the-pack defense against the pass. So this is a game where I think the Eagles can get right through the air. But I don't think, just because of everything that's been going on this week, like you said, Gino, they're suddenly going to throw 35 to 40 times and get rid of their identity, even against a really good defensive front. Just a couple weeks ago, they played the number 1 defense in football at the time against the run and the Baltimore Ravens, and Saquon still had a huge game with over 100 yards, including 60-plus in the fourth quarter. So I think there's a balancing act they have to have in this game. Like, yeah, the elephant in the room is the passing game. To kind of calm things down for sure, you need to have more success in this game throwing when you do than they have in the last 3 to 4 matchups. But I don't think it's suddenly going to be we're going to be a high-volume passing attack. I just think when you throw, you're going to have a lot more success to really get this team, I think, certain people feeling more confident when they get to the postseason that they can do that.
The thing about this team is that they feel very self-aware to the regard that it is Saquon's show right now, right?
Yeah.
And I think you made a great point. When they have to throw in this game, I think there's going to be opportunities. Joey Porter Jr., for as good as he is, he's a guy that likes to take risks on the outside, man.
He does.
Talk about history, success versus Pittsburgh in an Eagles uniform. A.J. Brown, I mean, he set the tone a couple years ago, the double point, like one of the greatest celebrations of all time. But to that note, don't get away from who you are, because you have the recipe to win football games. It's Jalen Hurts not turning the ball over. You look at the game last week, they had, I think, 3 second-half possessions, 8 total in the game, so 5 in the first half. These games are going to be short, but if they can be efficient, and that's what their passing game has been. Jalen Hurts, he's not taking the downfield shots. He wasn't taking a ton of them early on, but what he was doing was efficiency. Every time they were unloading that cork, he was getting that thing down.
That is something I want to see. Like you mentioned Russell Wilson, what he's doing that Justin Fields couldn't early this year, and what Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett couldn't do. And they're owning their identity, whereas the Eagles, I think they know they can be more. So they're kind of teeter-tottering with, like, yes, we're a run-first team, and that's who we are. That's what we do best. But, man, like, we could do this too. So I think what Pittsburgh's done great is they completely are bought in on that. And they get the explosives through the air. And that's one thing that me and you have both said on the show is, I don't think we're expecting them to be a 40-plus passing attempt offense anymore, and they're going to have success with that formula. But if you can keep those explosives, you're efficient, like you said, don't turn the ball over, and you get that deep ball back where you hit a couple of those a game to number 11, to A.J. Brown specifically, then I think you'll make him happier for sure, and I think you'll be feeling a lot more confident. Because, even me, I want to pass the ball, but they should be running through Saquon Barkley. They just have to get back to the efficiency that they've had throwing the ball, especially downfield. Last time A.J. Brown, there was anything going on with him, he went on like the greatest 6-game run I've ever seen an individual player have. So hopefully, again, like last year, they'll channel a little of this small drama into something good, like they did the first half of last year, rather than the second half where, everything just fell off the wheels.
So the one thing I'm kind of up in the air about is how do you do that while keeping the focus on Saquon Barkley, right? And a big way to do that would be the play-action passing game.
Yes, agreed.
But I'm thinking you're going against Pittsburgh, who has a really good interior, but they also have these edge rushers, which are so good. Are the Eagles going to be running a lot of the outside zone, which they did successfully last week against Carolina, which I think getting away from TJ Watt would be a smart decision? Because if you're doing that, you're not getting under center. Like, you're not doing a lot of these things that would allow you to do the play-action game. You'll probably run it more out of the gun. Pittsburgh can probably lock in a little bit more to that degree, but do you believe that your offensive line can do exactly what they've done for the last 9 weeks? I believe so, and that would play to the strength of play action. A.J. Brown, Pittsburgh's going to send you multiple different looks. You know that. They're going to send pressure at times. So when we have those opportunities, Lou, when we know A.J. Brown has nobody in the middle of the field, it's middle of the field open, and he has somebody one-on-one, you got to take that shot. Same thing with Devontae Smith.
I was going to say, let's not lose number 6 here. I mean, this guy's just being the best teammate ever, and he's the real one not involved.
Of it all, Lou.
Yeah.
He was very frustrated with it, too. And I think
he was.
This passing game, Kellen Moore really needs to do a better job, in my opinion. And it's getting Jalen Hurts consistent, allowing Jalen to operate to a degree that is building off of things in this offense, which at times they do exceptionally well, but they need to do it early, often, and get Jalen in a rhythm. Because when he's in a rhythm and defenses have to buy in on the 12-on-10 game plan that we always talk about, make Jalen a threat in the run game, Saquon Barkley's a huge threat, and they get their eyes coming downhill, that's where you can eat in the explosive pass game.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is going to have to be a better processor. Don't hesitate against a really good defense. Kellen Moore, though, like you said, Gino, I think he's got to do a much better job of scheming these guys open. I thought, again, last week the routes just took too long to develop and were pretty simplistic. So, this is a really good test. If you can bounce back against a Steelers defense that is legitimate, it would, again, the vibes shouldn't be completely off. Like, they've beaten some really good teams over the last month. But I think if they can have some success in the passing game, better than last week and against Baltimore, and still ground and pound this thing and get a win, like, I think the vibes will be back. I really don't think this is a end of 2023 like thing. I think it's more of after that Vikings win last year when Brown, there was talks about like why Brown was upset, right? And there was a little bit of drama during that week, and then they bounced back and went on this tear with AJ specifically. I hope it's more of that kind of scenario.
If there was ever a team and a group of guys that will get it together, I believe it's this group. And
I agree.
I think it just comes down to them realizing that we are still a really good offense, man. Like, in terms of point differential, we're still the 4th best team in terms of point differential. Where last year in 2023, you were teetering on next to zero. So
even with the passing defense or issues, like, this is a much better team overall. Like, I don't think suddenly things are about to crumble on the field. As long as they don't allow the off the field stuff to crumble, then
but
again,
Nick said they hashed it out like guys
so hopefully
should,
we're good.
And good on them, man. Like, I think they all know that things were said that probably shouldn't be said, but everybody is human. Nobody's perfect. But these guys realize that just like 2022, when they buy in and continue to be together, and there's no divisiveness, those are the best teams in Eagles history.
Eagles Steelers this Sunday, the game of the week. We will continue to preview it coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. This episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. You can redeem points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. I love using points for travel. Built makes it easy to turn rent into rewards. If you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use our link so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day, getting ready for Eagles Steelers this Sunday. It's a big-time matchup. The Eagles, not only, again, trying to get the vibes back on track. You know, of course, we all know about the drama this week between Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Brandon Graham. But, again, they are still trying to get that 1 seed against the Detroit Lions. Like, this is not last year's Eagles team that it just felt like you were trying to hold on for dear life. You knew things were crumbling, and you're just trying to keep it together, right? It's like a Jenga piece. Like, you just move that last one, and it's all going to crumble. Like, I don't think we're there, man. And as you mentioned, I mean, they have the 4th best point differential in the league. They're dominating right now on defense. And it's going to be a good test, too. Like, obviously, we talked about how this offense has a big challenge, but the Russell Wilson-led Steelers offense, it's even without George Pickens, it's much more respectable than it was even, like 2 years ago in 2022 with Kenny Pickett. So if they can, this is another mobile quarterback that if they can just keep him inside a structure and not let the improv plays kill him, I still like the Eagles' chances in this one.
And this is a third straight week, Lou, where they're going against a back that it's going to take multiple hacks to bring
Najee
him
Harris.
down.
For
so
sure.
if you're going to come out sleepwalking and you're just not going to rally to the football and play gap sound, fundamental, stop the run because you know George Pickens is out, and I believe they'll be able to take away the explosives. That's one thing Fangio really harps on. Like, we are not going to get beat downfield.
And Pickens carried that area of their offense for the majority of it.
I like the matchup of Mike Williams, frankly, with either Slay and or Quinyon Mitchell.
Same.
The thing I'm interested to see is how a guy like Van Jefferson gets into the equation. He's a good route-running wide receiver. I think the technical aspect of all your defensive backs will be a good matchup. You got Kelvin Austin into the equation. He's going to show you some things downfield. Freiermuth, obviously, is the big question at tight end. Probably see Cooper DeJean and him get a nice little scrap going there. But it comes down to the line of scrimmage, in my opinion. And Pittsburgh, the way they win, I think it's very similar to the way that the Eagles are built. They have a very good offensive line. Najee Harris does enough in the run game. They don't turn the ball over a ton. Russell Wilson will still give you opportunities. But like you said, Luke, contain Russell Wilson, protect the ball downfield, and just rally to the football on the inside gaps. And I think they've done a really good job establishing the line of scrimmage.
I think with George Pickens out, Gino, you really, if you take away Najee Harris, I don't know how the Steelers win this football game unless they make it like a 13-10 just slobber knocker where, again, the Eagles can't throw the ball and the Steelers find a way to totally shut down Saquon. Again, Russell Wilson's been good. But
if there's a defense, man,
I know,
like it's this
a great
defense.
point. No, that's true, and they've been doing it for years. But I really do think it sounds cliche, but if you win the trench battle in this one, if you can have success running the ball against an elite front and you can limit Najee Harris, because Russell Wilson, Gino, I think for, since I've been alive pretty much or coherent watching football, Russell Wilson's been one of the best play action passers in the league. Like, you get that guy on the run, rolling out. Like, that's where I think he really thrives too. So, yeah, I think just focus on winning that battle. And the Eagles' defensive line, like, that was one thing last week that it was rare that they got some pushback where Chuba Hubbard and the Panthers front was kind of winning that battle for a bit. So I think they'll bounce back, hopefully.
I believe they're going to have a pretty good test with an old friend, Isaac Seumalo, in the equation. Broderick Jones, the young right tackle. A lot
of Georgia versus Georgia guys, Gino. They got Darnell Washington, too, at tight end.
Zach Frazier, another scrappy center that's going to be a fun battle with him and Jalen Carter. But you said it, Lou. Like, as long as we've been alive, outside of the years that him and I lived in the same city here in Denver, he has been a very good downfield play action passer. One thing, last week, if I did have a complaint about the defense, they had bad eyes, man. That secondary, especially late, why did Leggett get behind them? Yeah, it was a man look, but we're not playing sound defense here. They have to be technically sound against Pittsburgh. And Arthur Smith, who frankly has turned his career around as a play caller there in Pittsburgh. But this just, to me, if it's going to go one way or the other, I think if you were going to simulate it on Madden, 66 out of 100 times, it's going to be a smash mouth, low scoring. Both teams they're going to be coached well, and you just got to hope that you take advantage of your efficiency in the red zone, which they did last week. That was one thing with the offense. When they were in the money area, Lou, they cashed in. Hopefully the defense can give you another short field at times. It's going to be tough to move it between the 20s, but if you ever wanted to light a fire and say, we are the better football team, we really can go and do damage, okay, beat Baltimore and Pittsburgh within the last 3 weeks, two of the teams that are probably the most physical in the other conference. What is going to set you up better than role-playing a really close playoff game than the battle for Pennsylvania?
Well, and you look at last year's gauntlet, if you will, on their schedule that they went through. Like, this year, you haven't really had one of those kind of runs. But when you think about it, like the last 5 games, right, you've played the Commanders, the Rams, the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers. If 4 of your last 5 wins are against those teams, like, is there a Chiefs team in there or a Buffalo Bills? No, but those are really good playoff teams that I think that's a really impressive 5-game run. So that Carolina win should totally be seen as exactly. Like, I think that Carolina game at that point should totally see as an anomaly.
And you can't look ahead to another divisional game. And I think Washington kind of coming back to earth takes that out of the equation.
Takes the pressure off for sure.
Nick made a great point in today's press conference. He was saying that the guys have done a really good job of not worrying about the 1 seed, not worrying about other teams, like who's beating who, just worrying about this week. And I got to believe them. Like, you have to trust your guys in this game, because this is not a team that is going to be like the Carolina Panthers where they're going to let you get away with mistakes. You have to play from the get-go. You got to be ready to be physical. Things aren't going to be perfect, but much like this week, how do you respond when things get a little bit out of control?
Yep, that's going to be something we're really watching on Sunday. Eagles-Steelers at 4:25. And one thing the Eagles will need, as they have all year, is the rookie class to step up. Got a agree or disagree question about the 2024 rookie class. We'll get into that as we wrap up this Wednesday edition of Locked On Eagles.
This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at IceShaker. Hey, Locked On Eagles fans. I know you're like me and your holiday shopping list is, let's say, far from complete. Actually, I do keep a list, and I'm pretty good at sticking to it, so I'm a little ahead of the game. But if you're not like me, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fans in your life. Perhaps you've heard of IceShaker. IceShaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the ideal gifts. It was created by the Gronkowski brothers, and IceShaker has sold over 1 million bottles, and they have changed the game with workout bottles. And this is a gift that you've been looking for. Go to IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% on your order. If you're listening along, please go and Google this one right now. But if you are watching, look at this. Kelly Green, old school Philadelphia Eagles IceShaker, and this thing, that's sturdy. This thing is made out of legit high-quality stuff. I take it to the gym. I've dropped it a few times already. This thing is durable, and it's a perfect gift, man. Everybody loves the Kelly Green. So order the team-branded bottles today at IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. IceShakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market, IceShakers.
All right, wrapping up this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast, getting you ready for Eagles-Steelers. Got crossover Thursday tomorrow with Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers, LOE3 on Friday as well. Thanks again, as always, for making us your first watch and listen each and every day. Gino, time for agree or disagree, and this has to do with the rookie class. I was thinking about this today, watching some of that Panthers game back, and Cooper DeJean struggled for the first time, I think, all year, and I think it's fair for him to have finally a welcome to the NFL moment against a veteran slot receiver in Adam Thielen, who's been one of the best at that spot in over a decade, right? So, but overall this year has been completely money. Quinyon Mitchell was, again, you didn't even hear from him on Sunday. That's how good he was. Jalix Hunt, I actually thought, had a really good game as well. I thought he made some eye-popping plays against the run and getting to Bryce Young. So agree or disagree, thinking about this, when it comes to is it the best rookie class Howie Roseman's ever had? When it comes to their actual rookie season, I don't know if Howie's had a better class that's been this good in year one. I actually think I agree with that. Because you've had a Devontae rookie year, Landon Dickerson was okay. It was solid in 2021. Carter last year, but no one was. I don't know if there's been two complete studs and then a bunch of other guys that have contributed like this.
Well, here's the question for you. When's the last time they had multiple guys who were in the driver's seat, and Quinyon Mitchell is?
Yeah.
And there's another guy in Cooper DeJean who's right behind him for Defensive Rookie of the Year, let alone any Rookie of the Year category.
I don't think they've had. I think 2018 you could probably right now say is the best rookie class of Howie's career, probably from a longevity perspective. But how good they are in year one, you're right. I think that's a perfect way to put it. They have 2 Rookie of the Year candidates. I don't know if they've had that in any other year with Howie, at least his second tenure.
No, and a lot of the guys that are doing really well in the defense currently, they've taken a couple years, frankly. I mean, outside of Jalen Carter, who was a freak, and we knew that. Jordan Davis, he's playing his best football in his career.
The entire
in a couple
2022
years.
class, you're finally getting a return on that. Yeah.
N'Kobe Dean, the same thing. Keely
Jurgens.
Ringo, he's turning into quite the utility player.
He's
But
kind of their best special teams player, Gino. He's been making plays every
week. He's a really
week.
good gunner, man. Like
He's their best tackler on special teams.
Without a doubt. And I think it can be summed up in the relationship that these guys have, right? Like you see Cooper DeJean, you see him and Quinyon Mitchell, like that bond that they have. And Lou, I was thinking of something that we should start doing, like the quote of the day from these press conferences. I have a really good one from Nick Sirianni here, and I think this really embodies our discussion. And he was asked a question on Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, and basically it boiled down to what makes them so special. He said, they just care. They recognize everybody, that it takes everybody, from the scout team to the starter to the quality control coach to the head coach. They realize it takes everybody, they value everybody, and they're willing to help. That's how special I think these two guys are. And I think you can look at that quote and look at multiple different bonds, this brotherhood type of bond. Look at the Georgia guys on the defensive line. Those guys won national championships together. You don't think they really care about each other and hoisting a Lombardi together? How freaking cool would that be? And Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell being talked about in Eagles lore, like the names of Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown when they came in as rookies. And there's so many things that the brotherhood is what they have to remember, especially this week, man. That's what made this week kind of weird was why are we getting away from the message that we've been together, like Nick Sirianni said, the entire time?
The Brown Hurts thing where, like, people are speculating if they're friends anymore. I'm just like, I don't know where this is coming from. I thought this 2024 team was, we said on the show like a few weeks ago, this is the closest unit I've seen since 2017.
I firmly believe that they're going to figure it out, man. This team just feels different, and if not, prove me wrong once again. I don't think it'll have to do with the message that Nick is sending. I think it'll have to do with how the guys respond, frankly. I think Nick, like I said on the intro, has done a better job than just about anybody this week, keeping the guys locked in. As Jalen likes to say, keeping the main thing the main thing. That's something this team has to get back to. But hopefully it's just a reality show Monday through Saturday type of thing. And Sunday, when it comes around, they lock in, because what a feeling it would be to walk out with another win, 10 in a row. 10 in a row, Lou. Now you're talking about historic stretches.
It would be their longest win
Eagles
streak in
victories.
franchise history. So
There you go.
And that's why I'm going to be watching this game closely. It's kind of a vibe check, too. It's like, all right, here was a small problem this week that you guys kind of created on your own, and you gave the media ammo. Now what are you going to do with it? Are you going to turn it into a big problem, or is it going to just be a wash? So I think that makes this game that much more important, just to kind of see, like, all right, do you have any 2023 left in you? I don't think they do, but I think this game will tell us a lot in that way. And it's just a big game. Again, you got to keep pace with Detroit. And if you can, even if you can't get the 1 seed, to go on a 4-game out of 5 streak where you beat Washington, LA, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh, you pretty much said, and you beat Green Bay this year already, and Joe Burrow too. Like, it's hard to not feel confident, Gino, in the playoffs that they can't beat the best of the best. Not that there was any doubt already, but they've done it this year.
And they're a team that it doesn't matter as long as they keep winning. That's what it really comes down to. And we know that the passing game problems will figure themselves out. We know that the interpersonal relationships will figure themselves out, because when they get between those lines, Lou, Steelers ain't going to have any remorse for what happened this week. They got to get ready to roll.
That's right. It's going to be a physical game. Eagles-Steelers this Sunday at 4:25. I'll be joined by Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers tomorrow for Crossover Thursday to dive deeper into the matchup. LOE 3 as well on Friday. As always, Monday through Friday, we got a podcast for you right here on Locked On Eagles. Thanks as always for making us your first listen and watch each and every day. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. Thanks as always for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.